So I've still been thinking about this landmark form, this Vanto thing. And yeah, it's hard for me to stop thinking about things like that. That's just the way I am. Something confuses my mind or plugs something together wrong. I just can't sit with that. I just like the trauma in childhood. Like we all have some sort of thing. No matter how good it is, we think it's tough and whatnot. And in my case, I just had to keep thinking about that until I figured it out. Like in my 20s, I think I pretty much figured out I was still dealing with stuff. I had new problems that had come from that because I hadn't figured it out in time. Then I'm dealing with those. I'm just constantly thinking about it. But I feel like when I don't think about these things, that they're still there, causing troubles. So though it causes some trouble to get preoccupied thinking about them, I think it's better. But whatever, maybe it's not better. I mean, frankly, I'm ready to admit I do it just because it's my inclination. But what really gets me is this is the thing. Sort of the little ideas that the group teaches you, the result. Remember, I make the distinction between the way they teach and what they teach. So what they teach, to listen, look in your own problems. There's some dangers in those, but they have some common sense appeal. There's some dangers in the way they put them, but there always would be, right? So forget that. That's a tangent. But they have some common sense appeal. But the thing is, they don't stand up to any kind of philosophical or psychological uh, scrutiny, any good scrutiny in those areas. And so it's like, it's like, it's that's what makes it this snake oil thing. That they artificially make this is common, these homilies about listening and stuff seem profound by using the brainwashing techniques. They put you to a state where just a little bit of insight looks like a shining light. Anything, get me out of this ditch they put me in. So that's offensive to me. But also, I realize, this is also the thing is that philosophy sort of has dropped the ball according to the tradition that I ascribe to. Because I believe in the pre-Socratic position as claimed by Sextus Empiricus, which is that the point of philosophy is to reach a state of mental tranquility. And I update that. I don't think tranquility is just a single feeling. There is sort of a tranquil feeling. But at most it mixes with others, and it's a sense of balance. So it relies, like it can't exist with nothing. It relies on there being a feeling of other feelings, and they're in balance. What's the feeling of inner peace, or whatever you want to call it, or control, or satisfaction with your mental state? And this is the purpose of philosophy. But of course, philosophy got diverted, thanks to Plato et al., into, no, it's a study of truth. But the study of truth is subsidiary to the study of how to have a good life, especially considering what we know about truth and how wrong we've been about it. So it's made me realize, geez, I want to make some packages of videos that take the same sort of, you know, desire to have ways to deal with things, and satisfy them in an honest way with real philosophy, not sneaking it into you or making it look bigger by framing it in some emotional catastrophe that's manufactured for brainwash techniques. But, I have changed myself. I've dealt with these emotional situations over the years, like I said, and there's techniques. There's techniques to approach these problems and get past them as well as you can, accepting what you have to or are willing to accept. And I just feel like maybe that's the point. Maybe people that take philosophy seriously haven't taken the fact that it's about living life well seriously enough. I've taken it seriously in my own life. I think philosophy is something I can apply to life if I can. As abstract as the stuff I'm interested in gets, I can trace and believe that that applies to real life as it's really lived. And but I don't present it that way. And one of the difficulties is, you don't want to tell other people, but that's the thing, you don't have to tell other people the solution in order to tell them techniques that they can use to find solutions. And you don't have to do that in this brainwashing kind of manner, where you take these kindergarten truisms and make them seem so profound by tearing somebody down. Um, People should tear themselves down. They should deconstruct themselves carefully. They should be careful where they put the pieces. And the pieces they don't want to put back when they rebuild themselves and reconstruct themselves, they should put them in a museum in their mind where they can refer to them. It shouldn't just be torn down and then we'll just put these gimmicks in place, this tent city. Because that's the thing, they're no better than temporary shelters. Like a tent, it's like they give you a tent. If you've been living with no shelter at all, that could be useful. And if you really want to be mobile and you have a home, but it's not as mobile enough for you, it could be useful. But they don't even tell you what they're giving you. You don't know. They study how well it works with making your company productive. But they're not really like, if it works, how the hell does it work? They're making millions of dollars a year. They're studying what's the principles and the fundamentals on which it works. No, it's good enough that it works. No, it's not. No, it is not. To tear people's houses down and give them a bunch of uniform tents. Ugh. But anyway, so that's my thoughts. So I think I'm going to make some series on problem heuristics and introspection and blame and this sort of thing. How to get your emotions together on something that's throwing you off kilter. Because it's not a matter of just being a calm person or being the kind of person that doesn't let it. No, to be honest, you could become a zombie just by using little gimmicks and techniques to avoid the emotional things. Don't let them dominate your surface. No, the real thing is you gotta let yourself be sad if something's making you sad or whatever. And then an honest technique of with that, accepting what you can without lying to yourself and getting someplace where you can move on and you can turn problems into situations and measurements and information. So, yeah.